You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vogt.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, we are intentionally live, if you know what I mean.
Heyo.
Heyo. Without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Kelly, a.k.a. Matty C, a.k.a. Kelly, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Vogt, Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm doing a heck of a lot better than Shannon Sharp right now because Club Shay Shay might be under different ownership here pretty quick, the way things were shaping up for him today. But luckily enough, here on this Wednesday, we've got a lot in store here and a lot of good things to talk about. We don't need to make excuses. We were not hacked in any way. We are just living our best life right here.
I will say Sean Payton and Greg Williams have attempted to try and mess us up. And Cam Jordan.
So, yes.
And Cam Jordan. So. And without further ado, we welcome back our Minnesota Vikings expert, Mikey Ryne. Mikey, welcome back. It feels good after a win, doesn't it?
It does feel good. It feels good. We knew it was going to happen. There were doubters. There were 100% doubters, but we got the win, and in a convincing fashion, too.
Yes, a very convincing fashion, and defense was at the forefront. Offense, There were a lot of good things too. We'll be talking about that. You guys know what we're talking about, our undefeated Minnesota Vikings so far.
Yeah.
1-0.
We are very happy with that, and there's lots to talk about. Not only with the Vikings, but I do want to touch on just the ripping, just the evisceration of Daniel Jones too. So more on that here with the hot take. But after that, we're talking about the Golden Gophers, the Gophs. They kicked the crap out of Rhode Island. It was a 48 nothing or something like that.
Thank goodness.
We'll be talking about that. They bounced back. Yep, 48 nothing, and they got a pretty good team. You know, it's sneaky with Nevada coming up here, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then tonight, Voldy, Mikey, we go back to some tabletop picks. We got some good ones for tonight. Zoners, you can follow along. You can chat. You can do whatever the hell you would like to do. Go ahead and answer with us. It'd be fun. And then we're going to go to ARA. We do have some Minnesota stuff to talk about right at the top with ARA, Rocco and Royce not getting along. We'll talk about that. Tyreekhill. If you woke up Sunday morning and you thought, what a morning that was Sunday morning. Tyreekhill, inactives, actives, the whole kit and caboodle. A crazy first week. Tyreekhill was arrested, so we're going to talk about that situation. Then shortly after that happened, Dak gets paid, gets a lot of money from the Cowboys. We'll talk about that. And then we got Coach Prime and his son talking bad about the O-line, things like that. I got some thoughts on that. And then to round things up, the PWHL announces names and new logos, including the Minnesota team, which is now the team name has changed, and we'll talk about that here. And Shield has got some shout-outs tonight to get through as well, so we are looking forward to doing that. Before we get into Tater Tot Hot Take, Voldy, Mikey, it was a crazy week, not only for our fantasy football listener league. Make sure you check out all the matchups. Yours truly, unfortunately, did lose to Blake Hawkert. We're very upset about that. But how do your guys' games go in the listener league?
Oh boy. Well, my matchup, it came down between the Monday night game. It came down between me and Vickers. Week 1, he had Christian McCaffrey. I had Brandon Ayuk. And I thought, okay, Ayuk, miss all training camp. All that talk, my boy is about to go off. 12 catches, $130, couple of tuds. Not so much. But Christian McCaffrey was inactive. So your boy was only down about 3.5 points. Slid right in there. Won by about 2.5 points as well. We're on to Cincinnati for week 2.
Hey,
There we go.
So, Mikey, you had a pretty good week, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I had a extremely close one in fantasy. It came down to the overtime game of Detroit versus the Rams with David Montgomery punching it in. Old reliable for me. I've had him on the fantasy team for a couple of years now. But won by, I think it was it 0.7 points, I believe. So it was a squeaker. It was a squeaker at the end, but I got it done. It doesn't matter.
I believe
We're
that was
1-0.
against Rick. So
yes,
that was. It's sorry to Rick, but hey, it's a close one. First game. There's more games to come. Shout out to our creative consultant, Sarah Antus. Vold! Oh, she killed it. Her and Amber had a great matchup, by the way.
Absolutely.
100 and something, 40 something points by the both of them. That was an awesome matchup. That was awesome. So, but with that being said, let's quick get to our pick'em. Our winner for this week, Voldy. It is Mikey's Fresh Crepes, but it's not the Mikey you guys are expecting. This is it's not Mikey.
Lot of Mikeys.
A lot of Mikeys going on. Who is our winner for the camo hat, Voldy?
Yeah, so luckily enough, a gentleman that I know and well regard, hopefully we'll have him on the show in the near future. Mikey Lawrence is our winner, former Granite City Lumberjack player, now helping out the squad this year on the team as well. He is our winner here this week, and unfortunately he's out of town right now, but we'll see him this weekend with the Lumberjacks season opener, so I will get him that hat in good timing as well.
Awesome. So make sure you guys get your picks in, the whole deal there, and we'll kind of go from there. Also, we're talking about this before the show, guys. Is if you guys are in the pick'em, can you just please put your name and last name within your profile there? Just because we don't know who's who. ESPN fan, I'm sorry, there's 2 ESPN fans going on here. So make sure that you guys, just put your name out there just so we know, and we'll kind of take it from there. We got a lot of
Makes
people.
It easier to track people down when we do giveaways as well.
Exactly.
So luckily enough, I had a halfway decent idea who Mikey's Fresh Crepes was, because Mikey actually had said it to me beforehand, so I just had to confirm with him, and luckily enough that was the case. Otherwise we'd be tracking down about 4 Mikeys just to confirm everything. So yeah.
All right, so make sure you get that in. Also to our listener league, get your lineup set, the whole deal. So all right, let's get into it, guys. Let's get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for Tater Tot Hot Take. We start off tonight with our Minnesota Vikings. Yes, they dominated the New York Giants 28-6, baby. Yeah, skull. There's a lot of positives to take from this game, and we're going to go over as many as we can, but, we're going to start with Mikey, and Mikey, why don't you give your thoughts on the game, how you think some of the guys or some of the key players in that game played, and just kind of, take it from there. So, Mikey, what are your thoughts on the game on Sunday? What do you got?
Yeah. I thought it was, outside of the first quarter, a very complete win. The defense looked amazing, especially towards the second half when they kind of just let their hair loose and, drove to the quarterback, put a fire under their butts, so to say, The offense was very efficient with their plays. I liked to see the resurgence of the run game a little bit. I know KOC historically has gone away from that, right? But now with Aaron Jones and how kind of tough and gritty he is in the run game. He is still shifty, but he's more of the gritty style of running back. You like to see the ground game kind of complement Sam Darnold, especially when, he was kind of a toss-up in the air. Is like, hey, how well is he actually going to perform? He performed exceptionally, I will say. He was over my expectations, even in terms of what he was doing in his first game back. A lot of the throws were on time. They were very accurate outside of a couple passes here or there. And he was perfect, like 12 for 12, I believe, or 13 for 13. So one of those 2 stats. Yeah, which was insane. He does have the 1 pick, which is not entirely on him.
Right.
It's the one sore spot, I guess, of this team so far was how they didn't seem, at least in the beginning, to try to mitigate Dexter Lawrence at all. The interior of the offensive line got a little bit exposed there, I will say, which was, one of our keys that they had to fix. And so far, it looks like Ed Ingram is still Ed Ingram. He still has his moments where he can be okay and serviceable, but then he has moments where it's like, what is he doing out here? Let's get anybody else in there, essentially. But, overall, cannot complain. Defense looked great. I think I am so far not for absurd statements somehow yet again.
Yeah.
True. So that's a positive point. So I'm excited to see where this team goes.
Well, I was just about to mention that after you're done, and I think it's looking pretty good. Coach, Flo, and the defense cooked. Absolutely cooked. I loved everything. Dirty Harry is still Dirty Harry. All right.
Ugh.
He got the pick. He was awesome on defense. It was awesome to see. So, I'll get to mine and after Voldy. But Voldy, anything to add with that Vikings dub? What do you got?
I mean, looking at my bold statement for the season, we're looking pretty on par so far with Sam Darnold starting 12 for 12 and eventually finishing, obviously 2 touchdowns. Big plays as well, going for it on 4th down inside the 10 there to ultimately go for and get that first touchdown, especially to Justin Jefferson in there in that mix. Really, you like to see, obviously, him coming out in a stadium that he's quite familiar with at the time that he played with the New York Jets for a handful of seasons, but also really establishing the run game, too. I really like to see a lot of good movement, especially from Aaron Jones early on. Just finished under 100 yards, but still really good action from him, putting up, at least 7-8 yards a carry early on, and then just continue to build off that. Did lead to a touchdown in that first half of the game too. So really good overall performance. Things looked a little bit bleak early on, especially with that fumble by CJ Ham. And then, the Vikings were able to hold the Giants to a field goal. But then after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing. There were a couple of moments where okay, maybe the Giants are going to start working their way back in there. And then ultimately we're able to pull away. Just giving Darnold enough time in the pocket was really a big thing. And ultimately did work out for, to get that win, finishing 19 for 24. I mean, that's as complete of a game as you can get, especially with finishing over 100, a 113.2 in that passer rating also.
So I'm glad that our bold predictions are going well. I will like to add too that Justin Jefferson just needs more, just 19 more touchdowns. So I mean, we're on our way.
On the way.
They're spreading it out though a little bit,
Yeah.
It was like 7 people caught a ball.
Yeah,
8 actually. I
8.
think it was.
Yes, that is correct.
Quick
that's
math.
what I'm looking at right now. Yeah. So I'm going to add to this too, because we mentioned Jones. We mentioned, Justin Jefferson, who had, not an explosive game, but he was effective. That fourth and 2 where he got it on that slant. I mean, Darnold he threw that thing in there. Yeah. And that's what we like about Darnold is his arm strength, right? And Darnold did a great job finding him, getting the touchdown there. That first drive that they had was just out of sorts, and we're like, oh, great, we're starting where we left off. Thankfully, we hold them to a field goal. CJ, with CJ Ham, I just think that it was just kind of one of those things where, shit happens, right? Exactly. He just fumbled the ball, and that's that. It is what it is. So, but after, like we said, after that first drive, Darnold settled down. He, handed the ball off to Jones, handed the ball off to Ty Chandler, who had a couple nice runs. It wasn't super effective, but I think when he gets a little bit more of a chance, then he should be effective enough. Aaron Jones, 14 for 94 and a touchdown. I mean, the touchdown that he had, I don't know about you guys, the touchdown that he had to get away from defenders, I just love how he got to the edge because he outran every single one of those defenders. And who knows, because these defenders are fast as hell. He blew by all of them. And I just feel like we haven't really had that. We're kind of like, well, Dalvin kind of has it, kind of doesn't, things like that. But Jones, he's so shifty, and he did that to us. And now it's like, he's on our team. It's like, hey, we good now. We're good now. So I love what I saw from Jones. But let's talk about this defense, guys. We had an awesome we had awesome pressure. We had Dallas Turner getting officially his first NFL sack. I mean, he just went right over him. He went right over it. then he bear hugged Daniel Jones, which we'll get to in a second. Andrew Van Ginkel had a sack, and then that pick six. The Gink is what we're calling him here on this show.
Yep.
The Gink.
Oh yeah.
He was fantastic with that pick six on Daniel Jones. So, Mikey, let me ask you, since we were talking about the top defense and things like that. Coach Flo cooked, and we loved every second of it. But what else stood out to you with the Vikings defense?
Yeah, it kind of seemed like what Coach Flo wanted to do was almost opposite of what his game plan was last year. A lot of last year was a lot of cover zero. We're bringing exotic blitzes and stuff like that.
Right.
And kind of trying to confuse the defense. Now it's a lot of feints. We were rushing 4, maybe 5, a lot of the time towards the quarterback, which I was uncharacteristic of him. Like, oh, is he trying to compensate for, maybe the suspect secondary? But no, the secondary played great. They played fine. And you don't need much more with that front four. That front four performed exceptionally well. Patrick Jones, too, also got, I think, 2 sacks for his name.
That was awesome.
So, these edge rushers, so talented. Harrison Phillips, which I think just got a new contract extension as well, played excellent. So the front four playing exceptionally well. I don't think you really need to bring pressure unless you're facing like a exceptional offensive line, which the Giants probably towards the bottom of the NFL with that did not look too great against the Vikings, especially with giving up 5 sacks there.
Yeah.
But no, I was very happy with the game plan. There was no points I'm like, what are you doing, Coach Flo? It's like he had this game entirely under his control. There was no sort of kind of like last-ditch effort kind of thing that he tried to do. It's like, I'm just sticking to my game plan, and it worked out tremendously. He just let the players play, and it came up excellent for him.
It was really cool. I don't know if you guys saw the videos, those YouTube videos that you sometimes will get like a notification, and just how excited Coach Flo was, on the interceptions that they had and everything like that. And you think to yourself, you're like, this doesn't look like a guy that told Tua, you frickin' suck, dude. Like, this was a guy that was for the players, and the players love him. So, I really, really like the way that Coach Flo handled the defense, and especially Harry the Hitman. God, Mikey, we go back to 2011. You said this was a great pick, and I thought, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's playing in 2024.
It's crazy. He's playing well.
Get that gold jacket ready.
Get that gold jacket ready.
Be in Canton, Harry.
That's probably most approved statement right there. Is get that gold jacket ready for Harrison Smith, Voldy. Perfect. So, Voldy, what any more to add with the defense?
With the defense too, I really like the emphasis in the change in the defensive style, at least from this first game with B-Flow, and talking about how going to a little bit more kind of a finesse, if you will, because you've got a lot of these guys, of course, with the front four that you did bring in. You do have a lot of, the linebacking core with the Gank, and obviously you throw in Blake Cashman, who finished 3rd on the team in tackles. Ivan Pace Jr. finished with 6 tackles as well. A lot more finesse, a lot more athleticism, which did pave out for that pick six that Ginkel did have. And just really a lot of the new guys that were coming in seem, almost a complete revamp of the entire defensive starters, especially minus like Harrison Smith. I mean, and Ivan Pace Jr. too, a completely different looking lineup than we saw last season too. Really taking advantage of what their strengths were, getting the pressure from the front four, and then allowing, everybody else to find those battles individually. And that did lead to more pressures, which did lead to turnovers, and ultimately a nice start to the season for the Vikings too.
So let's get to the Daniel Jones situation here, because it has been people have been ripping the hell out of this guy. And
Yeah.
Jonathan Grenard said they kind of felt bad for him,
Mm-hmm.
just beating up on it like that and stuff. And I mean, he was throwing passes in the dirt. They could only call screen passes and things like that. This is an abject failure by the New York Giants, I would say. It's like, well, he was injured, and, you know, like if you watched Hard Knocks, the off-season version of Hard Knocks,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they truly believed that, that he would be okay coming up here. But granted, they were trying to get a quarterback. We all knew that. And they didn't get their quarterback, and now they're stuck with this. So maybe, Malik Neighbors looked pretty good. I mean, he had some nice catches and everything like that. They should have probably went more to him. But unfortunately, Daniel Jones is not good. And we said this last week. You can thank Ed Donatel for all that money. Daniel Jones, I mean, there should be a check. I think you said last week, Mikey, there should be a check sent from Ed Donatel to Daniel Jones. And then Daniel Jones sending a thank you. But this is just... why wouldn't you take him out of the game? This is my question. I asked this of you guys. I asked this of the zoners. Why wouldn't you take him out of the game and put it in the backup to get something going? But Daboll is just like hell-bent on, no, he's fine. Whatever. We're just going to suck. I would have taken him out of the game. That's just me. But what do you guys think? Voldy, you go ahead first.
I mean, Daniel Jones just really can't catch a break, can he? I mean, we're getting, Sam Darnold 2.0 in this situation. It just so happens to be that he's with the other team in New York. Daniel Jones getting raked right through the mud here, especially given the fact that he's in New York. I mean, they drafted high for him. They haven't gotten the full production out of him fully. I mean, they did get a playoff win a couple years ago, but we're not going to talk about that against the Vikings. But since then, investing more money into him, and where is the return on the investment? 22 of 42, $186, and 2 interceptions while getting sacked 5 times. And I'll say it too, you take any quarterback out of New York, you give them a decent offensive line, and they're going to do pretty well for themselves. I don't think I've seen anybody really perform well enough in New York since the days of Eli Manning, which isn't all that long ago, but still feels like to probably New York fans 20 years ago at this rate.
Yeah.
Any quarterback before that, you probably have to go back to like Phil Simms maybe at the earliest from that time period of like consistent good enough play for consistency in New York with that with that market that just eats up players alive and spits them back out for no regard for their own sanity.
One other thing too, they had no rushing game. I mean, Devin Singletary only has 37 yards, and that's your guy. And I think that's terrible night for that. But Mikey, anything to add with Jones?
I mean, like, I agree with you, Matt. They have to take him out at some point. Like, he looked bad. He looked really bad. And it's, I mean, at this point, you have to just cut your losses. As a Giants fan, you just like, hey, put anybody else in. Put Tommy Cutlets back in. Let me see let me see the slick back manager on the sidelines again, making phone calls.
Hey man, they got Drew Lock, man. They got Drew Lock.
They do have Drew Lock,
Missouri.
Oh, he was. Yeah. I believe he was hurt though. So unfortunately, I think
I've
heard enough.
Put anybody else in at this point. Like,
put him in hurt grade.
And in terms of how much money he's gotten him, like per the contract signing, he's thrown more touchdowns to the other team than he has to his own team, which is just ridiculous. Like that's an unheard of stat. He's only played 7 games under it, and he's looked awful in every single one. I mean, they got blown out 40-0 last season in their home opener, or not home opener, in the season opener, I should say. It just, you put someone else in. I mean, we've had to suffer through so much quarterback heartbreak, right? With so much of it. But
last year,
yeah. But at this point, it's like Daniel Jones. Put him at running back or something if you want to pay him that much. Like getting rid of Saquon was the worst thing that this organization could have done. And they were going to pay him exactly what they were going to pay him. Like Philadelphia was going to pay him. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like he was the heart and soul of that offensive game plan. And it kind of complemented Daniel Jones to a little bit because you could run sort of like read option stuff out of it. But Daniel Jones is not a drop back passer, and the Giants reached for him. We all knew they reached for him in the 2019, 2018 draft, somewhere around there.
Sure.
But it's just more apparent that's like this guy has no place starting in the NFL. I mean, we'll see him in the CFL or the UFL next year. I think at this point.
Heyo.
That's a bold prediction if we were doing bold predictions.
I like it.
I like it. So anyway, it doesn't concern us, so good luck, New York, with that. Looking ahead here briefly, and then let's get into our next Tater Tot Hot Take. The Vikings take on a familiar foe in the San Francisco 49ers. They won on Monday night against Aaron Ayahuasca Rodgers and the Jets. They're going to be very good, even without which it sounds like Christian McCaffrey is probably not going to play, but that's kind of one of those things where it's like for the Vikings, it's like, oh, okay, you have this win against the Giants, and now you're going into against a team that you beat last year without Justin Jefferson, I might add as well. Now you have him this Sunday. So my question to you guys is, going into this game, even without Christian McCaffrey, I mean, I'm feeling better about this game now than I did a couple weeks ago, because now all of a sudden, Sam Darnold is playing well. The O-line, we'll talk about that, the interior at some other point because we got to get rolling. But is there any other matchups or things that you guys are looking at here with the Vikings and the Niners here on Sunday? What do you got, Mikey?
Yeah, my biggest matchup, I think we've alluded to it, is that offensive line. You have to contain the rush of that. The San Francisco defensive line, front seven, it's unbelievable. They're one of the best defenses in the NFL for a reason. There's so much talent across the board that you have to take care of. I think the huge key to this game is containing that. You have to give Sam Darnold time to throw the ball, and he's been throwing them quick. Last week, I think his average throw time was around the 3-second mark, which is where you want to see it. You want to get the ball out quick. You don't want to put any pressure on this interior defensive line. The tackles will be fine. Darisaw, almost a perfect game last
Pretty
week.
much, yeah.
And Brian O'Neill too. Excellent game from him as well. Don't want to put him underneath theirs with the other interior line, but you have to contain it, and then the defense, you have to play great. You played great last week. Just continue that effort. Flores will put you in excellent position. They did so against San Fran last year. Played excellent against them, but I think it comes down to how well does this offense play versus their defense. I think that's going to be the huge key, if we want to even sniff a chance of winning this game,
Exactly. Shield, what do you got?
I mean, I'm looking at, too, how the defensive backfield's going to match up against the receiving core for San Fran as well. Obviously, like I was alluding to earlier, with the finesse style, if you will, with Byron Murphy Jr. and Harrison Smith. Of course, the corners with Shaq Griffin, and, you throw in a little bit of a Caleb Evans, too, in that mix. How that all really is going to gel when you go up against guys like, you throw a Debo, if they throw him out in the slot or out of that receiving core. How's George Kittle going to, establish himself, who was held fairly quiet in that game on Monday too. Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, all this complete receiver core that they do have out of San Francisco. How is that defensive backfield going to match up if given the time properly for Brock Purdy to find the receivers, if they're able to shut them down, maybe work a little bit more. Because we saw a lot of rust on Brandon Ayuk to start off the season too.
Yes.
No training camp pretty much. And then, very limited participation in that opening contest. How that really all is going to gel for the Vikings here to start off in this game against San Fran.
Real quick, I'm just going to say, it's going to be fun to watch the B-Flow versus Shanahan. The offense, and our defense that played so well this past Sunday. So it's going to be an intriguing matchup. I'm going to leave it to pick 'em to see who you guys, who we pick and everything. So we'll just kind of leave it at that. But Skull Vikes this weekend, we'll go from there. Let's move over to our college team here for a second. The Ghosts bounce back with a shutout W after losing to North Carolina in the first week. They go and just stomp Rhode Island. So the quick, we'll kind of go through this quick, but they got Nevada coming up and everything like that. Voldy, does this win convince you? And I asked this of Mikey too. We'll start with Shield. Does this win convince you that the Gophers aren't going to be as bad as we thought from week one? What do you think?
Does it convince me? No. Does it help? It's swaying me in the right direction. And I think there was a lot of, game one against North Carolina, kind of deer in the headlights. He hosts the big game on a Thursday night at home against, a resurgent program out of North Carolina. Fell flat on their face. Now you give Rossmer more time to at least gel with his receivers, and it worked out well. I mean, he led the nation in passing yardage out of the FCS last season in New Hampshire. He came out slinging it yesterday, slinging it over the weekend. Defense came through with winning turnovers, converting on third down, and a 2-1 margin in the time of possession. Great start there. Let's see him do it again against the fighting Colin Kaepernicks of Nevada here this weekend.
That's pretty good. And our guy, Nate Burleson, actually went there, too. So
that's right.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's our guy.
That's a pull.
Weird.
I should have done that for table topics. Damn. That was good. But I'll go real quick here. I would say the thing that helped the Gophers is that they have Darius Taylor back. He was he only had like 64 yards and everything, but he also was catching the ball. He had 4 receptions. I think it was for 48 yards, which is pretty good. You want to have that multiple with your running back and, having that option because, listen, Brosmer had 271 yards, 2 touchdowns. We need the Gophers need to pass the ball. It's very imperative to do. It's for another time to talk about how PJ wants to run the ball, which let's make sure that we pass too and be efficient because sometimes we're not. So.
Right.
That's kind of my thing. Going up against Nevada, just do not lose. Don't lose to Nevada. Please don't lose to Nevada. So, Mikey, anything to add with the Gophers?
Yeah, I mean, I will tack on with Voldy. It's like I'm not convinced with this Gopher team. It does help a little bit, but there are major questions across the board. That I'm worried about, especially the head coach, PJ Fleck. It is time to, you see what he's actually made of.
Yes.
This is not the talent on this team is there, but it's not like as of like the 2019 team, that magical season that the Gophers had. But you have to use your weapons effectively. During the North Carolina game, I know there were storms out and stuff like that, but they played awful. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right.
We should have beat that team. The North Carolina defense, especially in the defensive line, just took over that game. The Gophers couldn't do anything. Versus Rhode Island, it played much better, but you expect that when you're playing FCS competition, right? You expect to see a beatdown from a Big Ten team. I expect to see the same going into Nevada. It'll be, I think, a more competitive game, especially since Nevada, they're no slouches, but it's not Big Ten quality, you have to keep this win rolling. You have to go in there. Everybody has to play sound, not necessarily excellent. You don't have to be extremely perfect as of yet, but you gotta knock the rust off. You gotta get some, you got to get the juices flowing and everything like that. You got to get some camaraderie and chemistry between everybody. But Big Ten season comes soon, and none of those games are easy. So you gotta take the wins when you can.
Iowa's just coming up here in a couple weeks here, so that'll be another tough one. So. Mm-hmm. All right, that'll do it for Hot Take tonight. The thing is, we could talk long about this, but we got to get some other things to get to too. So appreciate you guys sticking with us, talking with Vikes and Gopher football. We're doing table topics tonight with Mikey as well. So we got three questions. We'll ask Shield, we'll ask Mikey, and the zoners can play along as well. So we got 3 tonight, and then we'll let Mikey go, and then we'll do ARA. So let's get it going with some table topics.
The tables have been set. It's time for MinneZona's Table Topics.
All right, it's time for some table topics. Tonight, start off with, the deal. It's a little bit more trivia than it was previously. By the way, I did forget from Mama Callahan and Papa Callahan's house. I do have the old version as well. So
yes.
I for some reason, I don't know why I didn't bring it with me when we got the new place and everything. So I don't know. Sorry about that. Anyway, with that being said, let's get to our first table topic tonight, gentlemen. This is what we kind of got here. All right.
Okay.
This is a baseball one with the Minnesota Twins. So we'll be talking about the Twins here very shortly in ARA. Let's go ahead and get the question here. Zoners, I will repeat it twice. So I'll say it once and then twice, and then these guys will answer. So anyway, let's get this going. What longtime pitcher went to 3 straight All-Star games with the Rangers immediately following his one and only season with the Twins in 2003? So, again, what longtime pitcher went to 3 straight All-Star games with the Rangers immediately following his one and only season with the Twins in 2003? And I believe the Twins won the pennant that year, if I'm not mistaken. So who was that pitcher? Shield, why don't you do the honors? Throw out a guess.
He was a pitcher, correct?
Correct. Rangers. Think Rangers.
Was that the year Dave Winfield came to the Twins? Or was that the year before?
I think it was before. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
2003. And then he went to 3 straight with the Rangers, so it would have been 04, 05, 06, I believe. Pitcher.
It's a little tough one, I will say.
The only one that comes to mind. I have no idea because he pitched a no-hitter on this day in like 99. I'm going to say Eric Milton.
No, that's a pretty good guess, though. I'll give you that. Mikey, any guesses on your?
Gosh, my early 2000s Twins knowledge is lacking. Because the only pitcher I can think of is like Brad Radke right now, but he was a long-time Twin.
What a great pitcher, man!
He towards the end of that career, ups and downs.
Yeah.
But gosh, there is no name that I could think of right now that would make sense.
I'll give. You go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say Brad Radke. I know it's wrong, but that's the only.
That's all right. Hey, that's a good. That's a good guess. So Here's
Wait a
what I'll
second.
say. This
Starter or reliever? Does it say?
I
if he was
think
a starter?
I think it is kind of reliever. I think bullpen,
Oh.
if I'm not mistaken. So
All right.
there's a clue.
So that changes my answer. I'm gonna throw out. No, he didn't play for. Never mind. I'm gonna stick with it. No.
Okay, Mikey, did you want to?
No, it's still nothing. Still no bells ringing up there right now.
So let me say this: this pitcher has the same name as a famous singer, I believe, country and/or folk music. I don't know, it's something like that. Does that ring any bells? Nada.
No.
Okay.
No.
So
it's gonna.
wait. I hear know when to fold them, know when to walk away. That one. No.
That's
Kenny
not-
Rogers.
Yes, that is
it is Kenny
correct.
Wow.
Yes. Kenny Rogers. Do you guys remember Kenny Rogers on the Twins for a little bit? You remember
For a
that?
hot second.
A hot
For a hot
second.
second.
The name is
Golly.
familiar now, but no, I do not remember that at all.
I
He
do.
was
I
old
do
when
remember
he was with
that.
the Twins, and he played for like another 5, 6, 7 years or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
He was all right. I mean, he wasn't
Yeah.
awful. He's all right. You know,
Yeah.
it's when I saw that name, I was like, I remember this guy. I was like, holy crap! I just
Good
completely,
Lord.
you know. So I thought it was a good one, and you know the
That's a
deal.
great one. That's a
That
great
was a
pull.
good one. That was a great one.
It was a good pull on that one. All right, so
All right, we need to bounce back here. Here we go.
yeah,
Lock it in.
we got some good ones here, and I think you'll probably get these next few. So
All right, here we go.
let's get this going. So
Uh-huh.
this is a wild question now.
All right, here we go.
All right. So, what was the score in the Wild's blowout win over the Dallas Stars in their first ever visit to XL Energy Center?
Oh, man.
What was the score in the Wild's blowout win over the Dallas Stars in their first ever visit to the XL Energy Center? I'm going to say this. Let me say this. It was a shutout, if that helps.
Okay. That's what I was.
So you
I
got to
was
go
thinking it was
through a
shutout.
couple of numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
I briefly remember this game mostly because Neil Broughton was there in person. He started off by wearing a Dallas Stars jersey, but then he ripped it off and showed his old Minnesota North Stars jersey, which really hyped up the crowd and really got the Wild hyped up because they went on to spank away the Dallas Stars all the way back down to Lone Star State.
you want to give it a guess, Shield?
I'll give it
Yeah.
to Voldy first.
Yeah, I'm going to go with this shutout victory of being, I want to say it was 6-0.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, I was
ding,
gonna say.
ding,
I was gonna
ding,
say
ding.
6-2.
Ding.
I was gonna say
yes. 6-0. So yeah, the Wild. Yeah, and when the Stars came back, were there the Fire Norm Green signs on there too and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd assume, Mikey, that's probably what you were thinking too. So.
Yeah, I was thinking there was a hat trick in that game. I think I don't recall that well.
Was that that was Marion's years, right?
Marion's year? Yeah, Marion Gabrick was on the Wild at that point. I think.
Yeah, is that true, Voldy? Do we know?
Might have been, I think it might have been a year early. I think.
Early?
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, he was there probably 02, I think, 02, 03
02.
that season, I think. I don't know.
Sure.
It's too long ago. I don't like to think about it.
Yeah.
Can I give you guys a layup here? Hopefully is a layup. We're gonna do a
Hopefully,
really
yeah.
quick one.
Hopefully,
because we're
yeah.
going through this one. I think. Well, this one is super easy. I feel like.
All right.
In what country was Ricky Rubio born?
Oh,
Mikey, this
It
is
was-
all you.
was he Spain or Portugal? I can't. It's one of the two. I'm gonna say Spain. I'll say Spain.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Spain. Yeah. And I thought that's actually a good. I mean, to be honest,
right next to each
it
other,
could be.
so.
Spain.
Yeah.
We're right next to each other, so that's pretty good. All right, so let's go for Vikings here. Okay.
All right, here we go.
This is one that
Time to
I
lock
feel
in.
like I will say this. This is one that Papa Callahan would get like this. I guarantee you.
Oh boy.
What legendary Vikings running back had a son who played in the NFL for the Bills, Texans, Giants, and 49ers? What legendary Vikings running back had a son who played in the NFL for the Bills, Texans, Giants, and 49ers? So,
Bills, Texans, Giants, 49ers.
correct. This is a
quite
legendary Vikings running back.
Okay.
So,
Boy,
since we do have our Vikings expert, we're gonna put him
Well,
on the
now we're
spot
testing
real quick.
it. Now we're testing it.
Now we
we're
need to
testing
start
it.
naming off legendary Vikings
Okay, so
running backs.
legendary Vikings running backs. You know, we have AP, but he's too young. We have Dalvin Cook's up there, but again, way too young. He's still in the league.
Yep.
Chuck Foreman.
The only other one I can think of right now would be like Robert Smith. You know, he was a legendary Vikings. He was kind of around in that era. He might have, at this point, you know, he probably had a son early on, which could have gone through everything. So I'm going to say Robert Smith.
Unfortunately
See,
not.
I was thinking it was too early.
Guess. That's a good
I
guess.
was thinking it was too early.
Yeah.
Voldy, do you have a guess?
Well, this is where you really need phone a friend here real
You
quick.
do.
I'd call my dad real quick. He'd probably get it in a second or so. Oh boy.
Let me say this. You just mentioned this guy, actually. You were going through a list there. So
Chuck Foreman then.
ding 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 ding
Yes.
ding ding ding
Yeah.
ding.
Yeah, Chuck Foreman.
I was thinking Mikey was going to get it after when he said Chuck Foreman. Mikey's like, oh yeah, and then I thought that would be. But yes,
Yeah.
Chuck Foreman had a son who played in the NFL for the Bills, Texans, Giants, and 40.
That's a good poll. No, I was literally going down the list of top running backs of Vikings history with like yardage in my head.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. So, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and it's I mean, you know, it's tough to tell because we've had so many good running backs.
We'd
through
have
the years. So, I was almost going to say Mo Williams when I saw this, but I was like, probably not. Voldy, I want to give you a layup here. You probably already know this. This is another wild one, real quick.
Okay.
What NHL team did Craig Leopold own before purchasing the Minnesota Wild in 2008?
Oh, that was the Nashville Predators.
Ding, 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 ding,
It's a good
ding.
pick. Good poll.
Boom. We had some tough ones. We had some layups. I just wanted to throw the layups in there because I feel like we know our stuff. So, Mikey, it was a absolute pleasure having you on.
Oh yeah.
Again, the big game is on Sunday with the Minnesota Vikings taking on the San Francisco 49ers. And we will be talking. We'll be sending texts left and right and things like that. Well, it depends because I will be unfortunately in Wisconsin, but it is for a wedding. So, you know, it's.
There you go. You can rub it in their face when we win.
Exactly. They did. The Packers did
married.
lose. They're the only NFC North team that's lost.
Exactly. Now they're without their quarterback, you know.
Yeah.
For at least a couple weeks.
At least a couple weeks. So, we'll be talking with you. Hopefully, it's a Vikings win. If not, well, I just want it to be at least competitive. That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
If it's competitive, I'll take it as a W in our books. You know,
Right.
As long as
Moral
we look
victories.
okay. Yes, moral victories.
Yes.
We got a gauntlet coming up for the Vikings. So.
Oh yeah,
we really do. I mean, we really do. So, Mikey, we will talk to you later. And Skol Vikes, and
Skol.
We'll have you on here again soon. So
sounds good. Thanks for having me again. It was always fun.
You know it. Keep that bold prediction. Alive.
Hey, we're looking good so far. It's not too bold yet.
It's not too bold yet. So we'll see what happens 49ers. We'll talk to you later, Mikey. See ya.
See you guys.
Mike.
Thanks for having me.
All right. That will do it for Table Topics. Like we said before, thank you to Mike and Ryne for coming on. And Shield, we have, there are a lot of ARAs where This is very rant worthy.
Yeah.
The first one is rant worthy because my blood is already boiling for ARA tonight. But it's all in good fun and mostly. But we got Rocco and Royce being on two different. They're not getting along. Let's just put it like that. They're not getting along. We'll talk about that. Tyreekhill arrested and then released by police. We'll talk about that situation. Dak gets paid. He gets his contract with the Cowboys. The Primes, I should say Primes with Shedeur and Deionsanders. They call out their O-line after the loss. And then the PWHL announces the names and the logos for the hockey league as well. So we'll talk about that. So let's get it going with Observed or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, Shield, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we start in the world of Major League Baseball and the Minnesota Twins, who are slowly but surely keeping a taut race in that AL Central, as well as the, second spot in the wild card standing. But things looking a little too rocky as of late for the Twins, especially with it being former first-round draft pick and maybe soon to be face of the franchise Roycelewis and current manager Roccobaldelli, as reports coming out and at least conversations with the now soon to be, at least further establishing star in Roycelewis, maybe getting a little bit too more comfortable with the media and, putting out more of the concerns and issues that he has, most recently talking about him playing second base. Now, Roycelewis has voiced his opinion to the media, saying that he's not comfortable playing there, doesn't want to play there, but has served there in emergency situations. And, of course, most recently, after playing a few innings this past week at second base, the next day he was penciled in at the starting spot for second base, which drew his ire and also was voiced by Roccobaldelli, saying that, hey, if he's going to be at second, then Jose Miranda is starting at third and gives the team the best chance to win as possible. But Roycelewis has voiced his disagreement about it, and now Baldelli is coming out and saying he's tired of Lewis basically yapping to the media and putting out and airing out the dirty laundry of the Minnesota Twins. Now, with all this being said, there are people labeling it as kind of a diva-ish moment or tendencies of Roycelewis, now established with the Twins and the ball club, now saying that, no, I don't want to play second base. I'm a left side infielder, short or third. That is where I want to be at. And basically putting out him is saying that he doesn't want to do it, as kind of putting himself into a diva-ish role. But is it absurd or approved? With Roycelewis talking to the media and putting out saying that he doesn't want to play second base, should he keep a more low profile when it comes to talking to the media, or keep this quote-unquote diva-ish tendency that is drawing the ire of his manager in Roccobaldelli?
I didn't want to do this, Voldy. I really didn't want to do this, but I got to. You know what happens when we get serious here. I turn around the hat.
Oh, boy.
And everything like that. So
strap in. It's about to get weird.
Strap in. It's about to get weird. I look at this situation, and this is kind of where I'm, taken aback by this, because at least Roycelewis is voicing out some frustrations that we have as fans. I will preface this by saying that I'm kind of proud of Roycelewis saying something and saying, like, I don't want to play that. We've got other players. He has less experience at second. Was like, well, if it's for the good of the team, then that's what you do. Blah blah blah. But at this point in time, we have gone through a lot of situations where Roccobaldelli has made some boneheaded decisions. This, unfortunately, is one of those boneheaded decisions. Now, him bringing him to second base, and the quote says too, Voldy, over what Roy said. He said, "We have plenty of really good second basemen. I don't want to mess up our defense just because we're going to try something new. It's not spring training or AAA for that. I think we proved that I'm an athlete. Now, let's just keep playing normal baseball, play third, and win baseball games." I can't necessarily disagree with him here. And I think that they could probably have somebody else at second. But here's the thing that really pisses me off is that when guys try and say something and say like, hey, this is just how I feel and things like that. Yes, Roycelewis could have went to Baldelli and said, I don't really like this, man. I don't, play second, things like that. At least have that conversation. But the thing is once the Twins have made their decision, it's final. You can't do anything. This is how it's going to be. This is how we do this. How many games has Roccobaldelli screwed up for the Minnesota Twins? Do I even have to bring up again the 2020 deal with the Astros, with Barrios? He didn't want to come out of the game. He thought, we all thought the same thing. He's doing just fine. Just recently, Bailey Ober was playing really well, and they brought in Duran in the 8th freaking inning instead of like a Griffin Jacks or something like that. And they lose the game after Ober was lights out pitching. His pitch count wasn't high or anything like that. They lost the game. So here's where I get really pissed because Rocco is calling us saying like, oh, you shouldn't be saying that and everything like that. Well, what have you done? What have you done? This team was supposed to be winning the Central. Now you're behind the Guardians, you're behind the Royals, and you're concerned about, it works better for him to be at second. What the hell's the matter with you, Rocco? That is a stupid-ass decision. You take out pitchers way too early. Sonny Gray last year said it, and he was quoted saying it. He voices frustrations over being yanked from the mound too early. And what happens? Nothing happens because no one is talking about how, it's just how it is. It's just unfortunate. No, Roccobaldelli needs to go. He needs to get the hell out of Minnesota because he has made these boneheaded decisions way too much. You have this situation with Roycelewis. He has handled it terribly, absolutely terribly. And now your best player, you've pissed off your best player. And guess what? More are going to follow that. So I am calling for the Twins to get rid of Roccobaldelli. I don't care if they make the playoffs. The thing is, if they make the playoffs, they're getting their asses kicked. That's what's happening because I am sick and tired of all this BS from Roccobaldelli. I am done. That's all I got to say with that. But let's answer the question here, Voldy. No, he doesn't need to keep. I say you go right ahead, Royce. You voice your frustrations because to me, I don't think the guys respect him. This players only meeting and this and that bullshit. I don't care. He needs to go. It's that simple. Voldy, what do you got?
I mean, I look at it from this point in saying that Roycelewis has really earned the right to say where he wants to play because we've seen in the past what happens when Royce kind of goes with the flow. Came up as a shortstop. Now let's move you to the outfield. You're going to be Byron Buxton's replacement here in a couple seasons. Goes to the outfield. What happens? He blows out his knee again for like the second or third time, which has delayed his full potential from getting in the major league level last season and this season. Of course, now being, true seasoning for him to be consistent enough to stay with the Twins. Obviously, a couple of injuries here and there and a couple of setbacks, but him playing short, him playing third base is ultimately the best position for him to be an effective enough hitter and a player as well at the major league level. Second base, a revolving door for like the last 7 or 8 years, which used to be shortstop for the Twins for the 7 or 8 years prior to that. And I think now you're at a point, I think Brooks Lee, he's shown that he can hit at the major league level. Edouard Julien, I don't know what's going on with him. He's been throwing the ball anywhere and everywhere that isn't to a teammate at a position where they can make an out. First base is pretty much taken up too. Carlos Santana has been playing really nice. Maybe Juan Miranda, you can throw him here and there at that spot, if not DHing or at third base. But I think at this point, it is something that we really look at because we've seen in years past with all the big stars that have come out of the Twins, the Vikings, the Wild, the Timberwolves. They've really kept a low profile in talking about, hey, it's the team. I'm happy where I'm at, just doing what the coach says. Now we've seen this next generation come in of Anthony Edwards, Roycelewis. Now we start to see, Justin Jefferson. Things aren't going the right way. They're going to let anybody and everybody know in that regard. I love the fact that Roycelewis is saying, I don't want to play second base. I'm not comfortable. I don't like it. I think he's more than well and capable in saying that and speaking for himself. He's not just going to default to whatever is best for the team, whatever my manager wants me to do. That's going to be great. I think now you're at a point where Carlos Correa, if he doesn't finish his career in the next 3 or 4 seasons at that DH spot, I would be very surprised considering the fact he spent more time on the DL than actually playing shortstop this season. Third base continues to be, again, another revolving door for the Twins. You can put Miranda, you can put Roycelewis there, whatever. I think this offseason will be a real true benchmark of where the Twins are going to be heading, considering the fact they've got these young guys down at AAA that want to be able to come to the major league level. Well, we've got some shifting to do a little bit. What are you going to do at second? What are you going to do at third? What's the outfield going to be looking like? Are we going to finally get rid of Max Kepler? No? Yes? Is Byron Buxton the DH of the future? Or is he going to still try and make a name for himself in center field? I don't know. This upcoming offseason, if they do even make the playoffs, that's going to be a fire sale within itself and a shitstorm of a tornado that will be for the Twins. But I think overall, answering the question, no, I think he keeps on talking. I don't think it's much diva talk. It's more just him voicing his displeasure and saying, look, I've gotten to this point in my career by being a left side infielder. I'm not going to second base because, frankly, second basemen get killed a lot more than shortstops, especially when it comes to turning double plays too, as they did back in the day where it was a much more physical style of play, breaking up a double play. But no, I don't think it's got my stamp of approval. He definitely needs to keep those tendencies alive and well and upset and ruffle a few feathers.
And again, this comes down to, and I've been saying, Voldy, correct me if I'm wrong. Have I been saying this for two years now that they need to get rid of Rocco with this?
For sure.
I mean, it's
course.
Even if the thing is even if they make the only way he keeps this job, and I honestly, but it wouldn't surprise me though if he still did keep the job. But if the only way I feel like is if they go to the World Series, they win the damn thing. But guess what? It's the happy to be here Twins that you have talked about.
The way this season has gone, the Twins would do something stupid like that and be like, let's screw it. Let's just go win the World Series and be like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Well, it's great.
It's great. Obviously, it's fantastic, but it's just like, we were talking manager getting fired, complete revamping the roster. Screw it. We're going to go win the World Series. Now what? Now what?
Yeah. Oh, God. So hopefully that's not the case. But the thing is that it comes down to the organization too. It's how they run the organization, and it comes down to those damn bull ads. Yep. And they control everything that's going on. I'm not saying he's a puppet to that, but I'm saying that the analytics, the sabermetrics, that whole BS with that, it ain't working. And Rocco has cost us games. He's cost us playoff games because of his dumbass decisions. The players are calling him out. He's losing the locker room. Just saying. All right, let's move on from this and talk about the incident that happened in Miami. Next one, Voldy.
Well, Sunday was, of course, the regular season opener for a lot of teams across the NFL, and one player on one team that was just blocks away from getting to the stadium to open up his next season of football. Tyreekhill for the Miami Dolphins didn't quite get there, at least on time, and almost wasn't even an opportunity for him to even play on Sunday. But Tyreekhill was pulled over shortly before arriving at Hard Rock Stadium down in Miami Gardens in Florida by Miami-Dade police, and was subsequently taken from his vehicle, placed on the ground for not following orders, and even was stopped aside for reckless driving, at least what the officers did relay, and disobeying, of course, a command from said officers. A seatbelt violation to top it all off from the Miami-Dade Police Department. Now, with the body cam footage being released as well, there are some concerns whether the officers maybe escalated things a little bit too far. Tyreekhill's attorney and his agent as well, Drew Rosenhaus, are talking about seeking immediate termination of the escalating officer who was placed on administrative duties as a result of the Sunday incident. Now, most recently coming out here as of today, that Tyreek saying, he could have handled things differently. He took it a little too far, which led to him being placed on the ground and put in handcuffs. Even fellow teammates that were able to get to the scene on their way to the stadium, Calais Campbell, said that he was briefly put into handcuffs as well for disobeying and failure to comply with a command. Even Jonnu Smith was passing by after Hill was detained. Now, with all that being said, Tyreek was still able to get to the game, scored a touchdown even throughout the handcuff celebration to top it all off. Now, with everything that's gone on, and I'm assuming as well, Matt, that you have seen the body cam footage of Hill and the officers in question on top of it all. Is it absurd or approved? Should the officers that were involved be fired for their actions that took place this past Sunday?
So I watched the body cam footage like everybody else, and I was shocked, with what was going on. Like, at first, I'm like, what an idiot. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, But as I was looking, at the video and everything like that, a couple things come to mind. And again, hear me out because, again, there's a lot to go through with this. But Tyreek gets pulled over, and then the cop goes to him and starts, talking with him or whatever. But he's just like, I think he said something along, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something along the lines of don't hit my car like that, window like that, bro. Don't hit my window like that, bro. He just kept saying it. It's just like, but don't hit Tyreek, listen to what the man's telling you. Stop being, uncooperative. He said that like 5-6 times. It's like, oh my God, just relax, dude. It's a freaking car. So, so after that, the police officers kind of telling him, like, hey, don't be, just, and then, I'm sorry, but Tyreek was an idiot. He pulls up his window, and that is something you do not do. You don't go and just be like, I'm done talking with you. I'm going to roll my window up. I mean, that made it even worse. He made things even worse from that point. Now, I'm going to be on his side here in a second, but the next thing that happened was when they he was bringing down his window like a titch or whatever.
Right.
And so they got so fed up with him that they're like, you're coming out of the car. Like, they were really aggressive. Don't get me wrong. These police officers were very aggressive towards him to get him out. It's like, you have to listen to what we say, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. He's like, I'm getting arrested, blah, blah. But you don't roll your window up. That's the thing. It's like, if you just listened and just said, he's like, well, I got to get to the game. He's probably in a hurry. Like, I understand that. But, again, you got pulled over. Obey the law. He did, and then he was resistant, and he admitted that. He just said, I could have done some stuff better and everything like that. But so then he gets put in handcuffs, and then the cops, saying all this stuff, like forcefully. And it's like, okay, this is really aggressive. The cop did not have to be that aggressive towards Tyreekhill. And Jonnu Smith and Calais Campbell, who was also handcuffed for some odd reason. He was trying to de-escalate, and then these cops are up there like, oh, what are you, blah, 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 F this and F that, all that stuff. They're just walking, they're just like, hey, like, what's going on here? You just want to, but these guys were really aggressive. Now, to get to the question, I will say this. I disagree with Tyreek on this. I don't think that these guys should be fired. Maybe a fine here, maybe a fine there, or something like that. But in my opinion, I look at this and I say, they may be suspended for a little bit, maybe a fine, something like that. That's kind of how I'm looking at it from this perspective, because, I don't think he should be fired. I don't. Tyreek says, gone, he got to go, man. In that instance right there, not only did he treat me bad, he also treated my teammates with disrespect, And he's not wrong. He's not wrong on that, notion with that. They did kind of treat them pretty crappy. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
But, then he expressed some regret, which I think he should have been better in that situation. But I think both sides here were kind of at wrong with some of these things. But I think it's absurd. I do not think that these guys should be fired over something like that. Were they aggressive? Yes. But nobody, in all seriousness, Tyreek, had a violation. They were doing their job. But now you have the instance where they were way too aggressive. In my opinion, I feel like they maybe a suspension or things like that, maybe nothing. I don't know. But I think both sides were at wrong there. And I think Tate agrees as well. So, Voldy, what do you and Tate got?
Getting a look at the body cam footage, and I understand where, there is a lot of right and a lot of wrong that happened on both sides overall. I start from the side here of the officers in question too. You got a driver that you pull over and automatically copping an attitude right away. Why you pull me over? Don't knock on my window like that. Like, if you want a problem, we can create a problem. But obviously, both sides need to de-escalate the situation. And especially with how tinted those windows were, too, and Tyree kind of reaching around for a couple things, those officers don't know if he has a weapon. They don't know if he's reaching for a gun or anything. So automatically, their senses are already heightened up. Regardless, and as soon as he gets pulled out of the vehicle too, for lack of a better term, that it was Tyreek that played the race card in all of it. And one of the officers responded, said, can't play the race card on us, buddy. We're Filipino or some sort of, non-white and all of that too. Sadly, that's what has come to out of all that. Now, the officers that did, obviously reach in and take him out of the vehicle, place him on the ground, and arrest, put him in handcuffs. Not exactly the de-escalating situation that you want to go through in all of that. It's unfortunate that it has to come to this point too, and especially with a couple of his teammates coming through and trying to obviously de-escalate the situation. Calais Campbell also getting placed into handcuffs. I think where we're at too is, the main officer that was put on administrative duties and taken off, out of the field and everything. I think beyond that, I don't want to say let bygones be bygones, but I think barring some sort of legal action from the side of Tyreekhill, I think enough has already taken place to where that, I think enough has been done. We're going to make things worse. It's not going to look good for anything. And the first thing I thought when I saw all this happen, it's like, look, it's Sunday, it's Miami, it's game day traffic, it's hot, officers riding around in, full uniform and on motorcycles. You got some guy whizzing right by on his way to the game too. Things are already stressful enough. Now you throw all this into the mix. I'm not a fan of what happened on either side. Tyreek certainly kind of copped an attitude right off the bat to, make his displeasure known right off the bat is not good, especially for him. But the officers might have taken it just a little bit too far. I think anything beyond what's already taken place, I think it's already enough. I don't think they should be fired for the situation that took place overall.
I agree. I just think, Tyreek should have had a cooler head, to be honest. And those guys and the officers, I mean, that was really aggressive. There was no reason why you had to take it like that. So, anywho, hopefully that's the end of that situation. So, but shortly after we had this situation happening. So, next one, Voldy.
Well, sticking with the world of the NFL, shortly before kickoff of the noon contest, a player that was playing in the late afternoon games by the name of Dak Prescott was in his room and received word that he would be getting a new contract, an extension to become the highest paid player in NFL history. Of course, a lot of talk from this coming off season, this past off season, talking about the next off season, that Dak holds all the cards to get all the money absolutely possible with being a non-franchise, non-restricted free agent for the upcoming market. Well, Dak is officially off the table as the Dallas Cowboys did sign a 4-year extension with Dak Prescott worth $240 million, with 231 of those buckaroos fully guaranteed as, well, Jerry Jones, the sly old dog that he is sliding right through and getting his quarterback for the next 4 years with Dak Prescott and the squad. Got that off the table. Now we're looking at what it's going to be here with the coaching situation. But overall, with Dak Prescott absurd or approved for the next 4 years locked up and Dak down in the Big D, do the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl in the next 4 seasons with Dak Prescott at the helm?
No, absolutely not. And the reason why I say that, and it's not towards Dak or anything like that, it's just the Cowboys are the Cowboys. And, Jerry has made some boneheaded decisions these past few years now. But giving Dak what he wanted with, being the highest paid player, everything like that,
right?
I wouldn't have given it to him. But again, who else are they going to have? I mean, you don't really have that many quote-unquote options after Dak. So it kind of made sense to hold on to their QB. I don't think he's the sole reason why they've lost these playoff games and things like that. But I think, there's been some that he's contributed to for sure. The defense was terrible in that game against Green Bay last year. The defense played well under that turncoat Mike Zimmer against Cleveland. So it's I don't think so. And I think the whole, Zim, holding grudges and things like that, I think the defense at some point, maybe not this year, could be next year, maybe the year after or something like that. I think there are a lot of issues that could happen. It happened in Minnesota, could happen in Dallas as well. Now, Mike McCarthy, I mean, if they don't do, much in the playoffs and or if they don't get far, he could be gone. I mean, that's a big possibility as well. Right. But I don't see it. They don't have a very good running game right now. They got rid of Tony Pollard. They brought back the carcass of Ezekiel Elliott again. Yes, he scored a touchdown. He only had 30, 40 yards, whatever the hell it was. Yep. They don't have a very good running game. CD Lamb, yeah, he's back, and but after that, there's not a whole lot that I like about Dallas right now. So, I don't think so. I think it's absurd. I don't see him, getting them to a Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl. So, Shield, Tate, what do you got?
I mean, you look at where Dallas is right now. There are too many questions to answer with that old running game that they've got right now. The young guys that they do have, are they going to be impact players in the next couple seasons? Because we already know that, Zeke is on his way out. If not after this season, who knows, maybe the season after that. Wide receivers, they got rid of a couple of guys. They let a couple of guys go. Can Jake Ferguson be the next Jason Witten down in Dallas? Can CeeDee Lamb be happy enough with the production or what the offense is going to come his way? Defensively, you got Micah Parsons. You've got is it?
Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, Trevon Diggs there, Steph's brother. I mean, beyond that, who else do you got? You need at least 2 or 3 more playmakers on the defensive side to at least be worth something enough to have a Super Bowl worthy enough defense. And with, Mike Zimmer as D coordinator, sure, things could be looking up in the future. But if they're going to have a chance to win a Super Bowl, they need to get good, and they need to get good fast. 4 years from now could be a very big difference. They could have a huge turnaround, but it is week 1. It is September. The Dallas Cowboys look like a Super Bowl winning team. Will they win it in the next 4 years? I'm going to say absolutely not. And if they do, I think Dallas Cowboy fans are going to be more upset than actually happy because of the fact that now that they've got one, they're going to expect about 3 or 4 more in that time frame. And I really wish we could add Joe Clements on tonight to really voice his maybe dismay about re-signing Dak, because I think Cowboys fans at this point are more about let's implode the team than actually help the team actually win. Because I think at this point, if they were just to, buy off the whole, sell the whole farm, start from zero, they'd actually be happy from that point and just start from the ground back up and actually work with what they've got.
I'm with you, and Tate I think agrees as well with the Cowboys. One kind of it is on topic, I would say. The one thing that I will say here, Shield, is that we posted our bold prediction, we were talking about the Zimmer situation, and I said that I want the NFL to swap or add a game, have the Vikings play the Cowboys. And it got some reactions from people, from Cowboys fans. One guy says that, we own you guys. And I said, wow, you're on the team. No. Oh, good for you. And there was another guy that was like, didn't the Cowboys kick y'all ass or something like that? It's like,
oh, I love it.
I like the reactions, but it's just like, guys, I'm talking about Zim. I want Zim. I don't care. I want us to get a shot at Zim here. So, anyway, that was fun. We appreciate the reactions and stuff like that. So, anyway, let's go to the next one, Vode.
Well, before we get to the next one as well, of course, we were talking about how Roycelewis, faced the franchise and everything. Him needing to, step up where, well, he just hit a grand slam. So that's always good.
You see, Rocco? You see? This is. He's the face. He's the face, man. So that's great. It's great. We'll take it.
Yes. All right. So heading to the world of college football in a premier primetime matchup Saturday night, Colorado hits the road and takes on the Nebraska Cornhuskers in a burgeoning up-and-coming pair of up-and-coming programs. Well, went this way to the men in the Corn, that belonging to Nebraska. A 28-10 victory in Lincoln on Saturday that was marred by the Buffaloes' inefficiencies on multiple levels, one of which including lack of a running game, 16 total rushing yards. Sheduersanders was tossed left and right, all up and down the field, while Dylan Raiola and, of course, the Nebraska offense marched up and down the field with reckless abandon for human life and made a presence known that Nebraska is on its way back. But we're more really concerned about from the Colorado side of things with Coach Prime after the contest and leading up to, of course, this week of football, calling out the offensive line, saying that, there were a lot of question marks and a lot of things that need to improve, of course, protecting his quarterback and his son in Sheduersanders. The way we started is just not indicative of who we are, as Coach Prime was said, and we just never got it together. Calling out his offensive line, and even in the final 4 minutes of the contest, Sheduersanders was taken off the field and actually even left the field as well, not sticking around with his teammates or the team as well, leaving and actually heading back to the locker room on his way out after being a, quote, little banged up after a defensive line performance that was definitely noteworthy for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Of course, with the O-line being called out in protecting Shedeur and the play offense for the Colorado Buffaloes. Is it absurd or approve with Colorado kind of in shambles right now and sitting at a 1-1 record? Will Colorado be able to bounce back after this loss from Nebraska coming up?
You know, I've tried to kind of keep my mouth shut with this whole thing with Deion and everything like that. Like at first, you know, I was like, okay, you know, that's just him. That the glitz, the glamour, and everything like that. He's the head coach of Colorado.
Right.
Like that's fine, you know, whatever. I'm sorry, I'm getting sick of this shtick. I really am. I don't like the fact that he's going out to the media and saying, he goes, oh, you know, you're turning, you know, that's not true, you know, we're not throwing him under the bus, and you know, things like that. It's like, you don't say things like that and then expect people to not talk about. I mean, Shedeur, what he did, I think Deion should be talking about that, what his son did and what he said after the game. And leaving the game early. That is something that I think that is kind of brushed under the rug, and I think he should have a talk with him and say, you can't do that. And, you know, I just feel like Shedeur thinks he is super entitled, and he thinks that he's this top dog and everything like that. Is he a very good player? Yes, he is. He is a very good player. But listen, you haven't won anything yet, buddy. And Nebraska went in, they kicked your ass, and you pouted about it. And you're pointing the finger at your offensive line, which, again, it probably is. Okay, that's fine. But you don't go and air it out to media and call it. That's how you lose faith in – well, the line loses faith in you and says, this guy's an ass. So, Deion and Shedeur, I think they're kind of, the whole shtick with them, it's getting old. And I just think that they're taking zero accountability because they could be better in some other areas. They can't rush the freaking football. What's up with their running backs? What's that situation like? You got to be able to run the ball somewhat. Ask the Vikings, for goodness sake, Aaron Jones, and everything like that. So, I think they can bounce back, but they got to let their egos go. They got to let things go. They got to be working together instead of like, well, you're not doing just it's silly. Will they? I don't think so. I think this is going to be going on for a while now. And, it's not looking good in Colorado, I will say. So, Shield, what do you think?
I mean, calling out the offensive line, especially after obviously the first two games of the season haven't exactly been to where the offense needs to be in protecting sheduersanders. He's still running around and getting hit a little bit too much and taking all that pressure, especially against NDSU. And then now with Nebraska, not exactly where Colorado wants to be. The real big problem that I have is with Shedeur leaving with those 4 minutes left. I know that you got taken out of the game. I know you might have been a little banged up considering the fact that you were, hit and sacked a whole bunch, 4 or 5 times, I think it was at least against Nebraska. But, basically walking out on your teammates from that point, that would not sit very well with me, especially if I'm a offensive lineman it's supposed to be protecting you. If you're going to walk out on me, then why should I protect you if you're just not going to have my back, especially even if I do struggle? If you're going to be a leader, you need to be able to lead it, especially when your team is down and not performing where you think your team should be. And then Deion calling out everybody. Sooner or later, that shtick is not going to really get it done. I hope that at least they're able to turn things around because I think Deion does a lot of good for the program, and wherever he's at least able to inject a little bit more life and at least produce at a level that is successful. I think now we're starting to see a little bit more of the turnaround from the fact that, sure, he talks a big game, but he can't necessarily back it up. considering at this major level of FBS football in the Big 12, because from this point out, it doesn't get any easier. Colorado State this coming weekend, which they did take into overtime last season against Colorado. You've got Baylor coming up after that to open up Big 12 play. Like I said, it doesn't get any easier. I have the problem of them, of Shedeur walking out. Will they be able to bounce back? I think it's going to be a dogfight. Shiloh Sanders also breaking his arm is going to be a big hurt for the defense, but there are definitely some of the younger kids have really stepped up in the defensive backfield, even with Shiloh not playing at the level that we've seen and at least have heard about in years past. So will they be able to bounce back? I'd like to say yes. I'm going to go with it's got my stamp of approval.
They better hope so. It's kind of interesting too. I mean, it's the whole dynamic and how things are with that. It's just, I don't know. I'm just sick of it, to be honest with you. It's just this whole, I blame this. It's like, stop blaming each other. Jesus.
Right.
So, all right. Last one, Volde.
Well, after the inaugural season of the Professional Women's Hockey League, or PWHL, now with this past Monday, the league unveiled the new names and logos for the new original 6 franchises after their first season. Of course, the first season with the defending champion PWHL Minnesota will be known as the Minnesotafrost. The other 5 franchises, the Boston Fleet, Montreal, I believe it's Victoire, or it's French for victory, I'm assuming, since it's in Montreal. The New York Sirens, the Ottawa Charge, and the Toronto Spectres are the first official monikers, which are set to make their debut in January, which will make their debut this coming season for the PWHL. Of course, previously, just the PWHL, then City, were their monikers and geographic designations. Well, now with the changes and updates of the logos and word marks, if you will, or monikers for these 6 franchises, is it absurd or approved? With the unveiling of the names and logos, do the Minnesota Frost have the best out of the entire league?
I give it my stamp of approval. I kind of like the name. I kind of like the logos. It's not like I'm looking at it and I'm just like, okay, I can rock with this. I kind of like the Frost, again, state of hockey feel and, things like that. The colors are cool. I do like that. I like the logo a lot. The one that I don't really understand and maybe they can provide some context is the Ottawa Charge.
Yeah.
I don't get that one. I really don't. New York Sirens, okay, I get that. I can kind of see that. The Victoire. I just like saying that. I mean, it's not a great name, but, I like saying it. Victoire. Boston Fleet, it's okay. I mean, not awful.
Right.
Then Toronto Scepters, okay, that's fine. I just really like the Frost name with it. The inaugural 6, I like the way that they got it. Yeah, so I would say stamp of approval, Voldy. I think Minnesota's better. Again, we're a little biased, but I think it looks more like, okay, the Frost are playing, bang, bang, it's cool. So stamp of approval. Voldy, Tate, what do you got?
I mean, certainly out of the list that you see too, it fits very well for Minnesota, obviously, with the deep-rooted love for the ice, as quoted by saying by the VP of Brand and Marketing. And out of all the names that were submitted, a little bit more weather-related, this one, nothing too out of the ordinary when it comes to it. Everything else pretty much fits for the franchise because for their franchise for their respective cities too. I don't have a problem with it. I'm a fan of, the color scheme is right. I'll say too with that, the different shades of purple out of all of them. I'm certainly a fan of it too. It's got my stamp of approval with Minnesota Frost. I thought I saw something that maybe they were going to be the Minnesota Superior. I don't know where I saw that or how I saw that, but that was one I saw and I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but it's a little weird, but nonetheless, I'll stick with the Frost for sure. That's got my stamp of approval.
I like it.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna let me bring up something that's kind of breaking in some
Mhm.
ways here. Unk, our guy Shannon Sharp,
Uh-oh.
has commented and earmuffs for
Uh-oh.
Tate here. No, I'm just kidding.
Uh-huh.
But it's not that bad. He says it was me being a healthy, active male.
My man. Get it, Unk.
Oh my
Club Shay
god.
Shay was quite active on social media
I gotta
earlier,
say,
and I
like, how does that happen though? That's my question. How does that happen?
yeah.
So I'll have to watch, see what the deal is there. But that'd be a good array for next
You
week.
know, I
So.
got the notification that he did a live video too earlier, and I'm like, not today, Shay Shay. And now I'm regretting missing it because Lord knows what I would have seen. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm glad I
It's
didn't
what you
see
would have
what I think.
heard.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't hear what I think I was going to hear because I would have been at work and that would have raised a few eyebrows and probably would have had a conversation with HR because of it.
Well, at first he said that, oh, my account got hacked, like, whatever. We're looking into how it happened. It's like, no, it's you. It definitely is you. So, all right, well, it is what it is. So, great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always. Let's get to our shield shoutouts. Got a couple shield shoutouts tonight, so let's get it going with some shield shoutouts.
Shield.
All right, it is time for some shield shoutouts. So, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, we do have to send a shield shout out to my little man sitting right here, Tate Paul Jacob, as he has officially popped his first tooth, and I think he's got 2 teeth popping on, don't you, buddy? Don't you? Yes, as he is grown up way too fast, just about to be 6 months old. So big shield shout out to my little man right here. And also shield shout out to hopefully somebody that's going to be asleep here in the next couple of minutes to Case Paul James, my oldest at 3 years old. Picked out a nice set of socks, Minnesota Vikings socks this past week for the season as well. They're in the wash right now, so they'll be ready for game day coming up here on Sunday. And this past weekend as well, got to go to my very first NDSU Bison football game, and it was well worth the trip up to Fargo as the Bison defeated Tennessee State, coached by former NFL running back Eddie George. And that was quite the game in the contest. The Bison completely smoked Tennessee State, but with my first Bison game day, I took the opportunity and probably shouldn't have, but I did it anyway as my first. Went over to guest services and picked up my first Bison game day, a little certificate that they print out, and you get a little button that says my first Bison game. Well worth the trip overall. Jimbo for driving up there and driving back, enjoying some tailgating in Fargo. It was all well worth a good trip up there as well, and the Bison sure looked good at home. And well, the Fargo Dome, as well as advertised, it was loud. It was a great time. So that'll do it for shield shoutouts here this week.
I love it. Here's a question I got, and maybe you'd had time for it, and maybe you didn't. Did you go to the Red Pepper?
Not this time. Not this time. But
darn.
we did when we went up to Grand Forks a few weeks prior, and had the red pepper. Absolutely had to have it.
Yeah. Well, Rattel, you know what to do.
Yes, sir.
Oh, too fun. Well, I'm glad you had a great time at the Bison. Go Bison. The whole deal. So, great job with shield shoutouts this week of Voldy, as
Thank
always.
you, sir.
And you guys know the deal. Guys, listener league, get your lineup set. Pick them. You know the deal.
Those picks.
Get those picks in ASAP. ASAP,
Yes.
Rocky. Get that in. Get that taken care of. Some of you have already taken care of it, so props out to you. I will be making my picks here soon as well. And without further ado, you know the deal, guys. We've got merch. We've got a lot of nice, cool, sweet merch. We got the stickers. We got the sweatpants. We got the shirts. We got the quarter zips. We got the hats. we're gonna get, and congratulations to our pick winner this week as well, Mikey. Fresh crates all around. So you'll probably get a camo hat from Shield here, and just be on the lookout in the coming weeks for more, and we will keep you up to date with that. And make sure you check out our guy W2 Performance, our guy Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com, and make sure and thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knudsen, and make sure you check out the Brotherly Ballers podcast with Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. They just had a new episode that just went up today, so make sure you check it out for all your fantasy football needs. And make sure you check out TLS Performance, our guy Troy Stoudemire Jr., who is absolutely positively ripped right now, and he can get you ripped as well. So make sure you check his stuff out, and make sure to check out the Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff, Ryne Myhrberg, a.k.a. the Ryne. No, as we like to say to the Rhino. Twins are up 6-4 as well, Voldy. Nice. Make sure you check out Omni Entertainment, Popcorn Bucket List, everything they got with their channel. So, like I said, Twins up 6-4. Hopefully they can keep this going, but who knows? Rocco's probably already taken out the starting pitcher by now. So, we got that going for us. So anyway, Skull Vikes, go Gophs, go Twins, the whole kit and caboodle. So as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.